I'm Rebecca Cullen, and I think I know everybody except for y'all. I'm with Cullen & Company at Keller Williams. I lead this group, Grid. We launched in May 2021 or 2, I don't remember anymore. But it's hyper-local education. So it's geared towards monthly education on different topics to help guide anything having to do with investing or acquiring real estate. So that's been our mission this whole time, is to get a good group of people and record the content and get it out webinar style or YouTube style, I guess. And so I'm gonna shift to you guys. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, your names, what you do for a living, and what projects you're working on.
Okay, cool. My name is Adam Cozzolino. I'm a real estate developer in Charlotte, and so I've got 2 projects right now, new construction, and then I have another project, a piece of land that we're currently in the rezoning process, and we're gonna subdivide that into 4 blocks and hopefully do some duplexes, maybe add like some ADUs or something. So I saw the topic for tonight, kind of, just like, yeah, let's kind of
awesome.
go check that out.
Very cool.
So, yeah,
you might be able to add some value then to the combo too.
Cool, yeah.
Awesome.
Seamus, I work at London Development, also just starting out wholesaling. And then I have Airbnb.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So are you wholesaling with a specific company, or is it through?
No, just
It's 2
individual.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're just doing introductions. Welcome.
Oh, thanks.
So I believe I know who you are. So would you mind sharing?
Jay McMillan with Rosegate Mortgage, so actually a neighbor, Jim. She's already been here tonight, so.
Awesome.
I had a little trouble on GPS stopped me
Sorry.
a few blocks up there. I had to like drive back, like, that mailbox says 27.
Yeah. We just recently had someone take out our mailbox, so sorry that our address is not out there. I'm now being really picky on the next mailbox. But so yeah, so I'm Rebecca Cullen. Nice to officially meet you. And today's topic, I don't think anyone else has joined on here. Cool. So today's topic is land hacking, but it's really specific around how to maximize the value of your properties so that you can short-term rent or do some development, etc. And so we're going to focus a lot on short-term rentals and Airbnb and VRBO and all those other companies. I actually so this is our office, and literally we don't come into the office because we're all out selling. We don't come to the office but like every other Thursday. And so I'm sitting here like, well, this is a really cool space. Let's see if we could rent it out. So I found peerspace.com, and I went on and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of great cool venues and meeting spaces. So if anybody's ever looking for like a unique spot for a training or something, go on Peerspace, and it rents hourly, just like Airbnb or Airbnb is not hourly, but you can do it hourly or daily. It's really cool. So hopefully we'll get this space rented out through Peerspace, but that's another example of you have a space sitting vacant, why not maximize its use? All right, Jay, I am going to mute you if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, but if you have any questions or thoughts, please unmute yourself while my computer is dinging. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. You are gonna be able to unmute yourself. Yeah, cool. So please, this is interactive. This is for you guys. So if anybody's working on some fun projects, like speak up, please. Who here knows what a short-term rental is? Great, awesome, the right crowd. So short-term rental is a furnished vacation type home that is usually weekly rental or nightly basis. It was really created, it started in San Francisco specifically for Airbnb, and it was where, you know, rental prices were ridiculous. They still are, but they were ridiculous, and people were moving out of the city, but they had these leases. And so they just started to sublease, and then Airbnb started. And so finding renters and finding people to manage these properties, we have hosts, of course, but like we're getting questions all the time from our property management clients where we have to actually create this concierge service now. And I'm finding that a lot of neighborhoods are not allowing short-term rentals. Midterm oftentimes is allowed. I love midterm rentals. Midterms are great. We have a couple of midterm rentals. I keep pointing at Jen. For those who weren't here, Jen is our property manager. So midterm rentals are great if they're furnished, but they're also great if they're unfurnished so that people can have a temporary place to just live during construction or insurance claims, etc. So Split Key and Bacasa also are some big vacation rental places also that are not like well known yet in this area. And so why would somebody buy a property to short-term rent?
Cash flow.
Right. Yeah, that should be the only reason.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it for ego or for saying that they have it. And I'm like, dude, if you're not cash flowing, sell that thing. It's too much of a headache. And so in some of the right areas, like I have a vacation home at the beach. Right now, it is crickets. It's going to be crickets until I slash the prices, but I don't want to because I want to go down when I feel like it, right? And so during season, I know from April 30th or whatever until September 15th, we are going to be booked solid. And so if I do it right and I price it right, that should pay for my entire year, my expenses. So plus some. So you have your mortgage, you have your cleaners, you have your upkeep, I have a pool there, et cetera, et cetera. And it more than double pays for itself in that time frame. Anything else is icing on the cake. If I didn't have patience or whatever, I would probably want to buy a property in Charlotte. Do you have one in Charlotte?
Yeah.
How does it perform?
Pretty well.
Is it new?
It's like 3 months.
Okay. So are you finding any challenges at all?
Definitely the first month. Second month started picking up, but since then it's been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
pretty
some
well.
sort of algorithm.
Yeah.
Is it just Airbnb that you have it on?
Maybe Airbnb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some sort of algorithm where like if you're not like have multiple properties with them, it takes forever.
Yeah.
You have to get your reviews up and you probably figured out this hack, but like I would literally just have friends rent my places and I would have them pay like $1 or I would reimburse them for staying just so I could get reviews. And I would just continuously send people down so that I could get reviews. So that's a good hack. Charlotte, especially like Plaza Midwood area and South End right now, although there's a lot of restrictions, you could find like 10 times. You could, if you're competing against hotels, for example, they're going to choose an Airbnb over a hotel depending on what their stay or what their reason for staying is. Oftentimes, like pilots and flight attendants love doing Airbnbs because then they can just come and go and they're not having to check in and wait. They just want to crash, not literally, but like, just check in and be done. And then the amenities of, having kitchens and those kind of things are great for your corporate folks too. How has anybody in the room purchased land with the intention of developing? Yeah. So are you doing it with your own money?
So I'm purchasing the land up front
Uh-huh.
for myself or with partners,
Uh-huh.
and then getting hard money for the construction
Awesome.
or private money, and then developing the lot.
Do you work with Iceland cities?
I know Eric,
Yeah.
so but I got better rates somewhere else.
Yeah.
I had better funds, so.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Um,
So I went somewhere else instead of going with him. And it's funny because we're actually potentially going to be starting to lend ourselves through this company called Beltway Lending. It's a buddy of mine up in Baltimore. So he's thinking about opening a branch down here,
Okay.
letting us kind of just tackle it and already have a foundation.
Okay.
But yeah, so I did get hard money elsewhere.
What is your turnaround? Like when you're getting your hard money, what is your turnaround typically with the build and then being out
5 to 6 months, could be
that fast?
could
Okay.
be 4. The term is 8 months,
Uh-huh.
an extension of 4 months. So they're typically 8 months and then 4 months, so 12-month hard money loans. And then if you have a relationship, you could definitely work more, supply chain issues, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you're just on your schedule for the build itself, it shouldn't be more than 5 months, honestly.
Right.
So.
That's cool. Okay, so you're probably gonna be the only one to answer this. But so I'm gonna use an example. I posted a couple of days ago, for those who are friends with me on Facebook, there's a parcel up in Black Mountain, North Carolina, that was listed, and it currently has 4 A-frame Airbnbs on the parcel. And then on the other side, which is also being sold, but it's 2 different packages, is a proposed additional 4 A-frames, or you can turn the whole thing into a subdivision.
Have they gone into entitlement yet? Like, has it already been passed by the county or city?
It has been proposed, but not passed. Yeah. They have all like huge package of information. It's awesome. But it's been a long time since I've actually seen something like that actually like at a reasonable price. So the 4 A-frames and the less than an acre that's on is being sold for 1.65. And then the whole package is being sold for 2.4. And so if you think about that, if even you could just take the 4 additional A-frames, they are making their gross revenues on just the 4 are hovering around $153,000 net. So what did I say? So their net is $153,000. Double that money will be made back. And I think there's some room for improvements on there. Hey there. Oh, hey, Sona. And so like, I would start looking, there's going to be more opportunities like that popping up. And for that particular property in Black Mountain, like the heart of Black Mountain, to be sold, there's got to be a reason why they're selling that. And it's probably because they need the cash flow or they need to move on with another project. So just
Did you see how long they owned it?
they have owned it for 4 years. Yeah. But anyways, that was just like perfect timing for that particular parcel, and something like that, where you can actually take less than an acre on a really, really hot area or in a hot vacation rental area, and then create cash flow for yourself. That's what we're talking about, right? There's probably areas out where you are that you could develop. Blacksburg,
Oh,
you should buy that.
it'd be hard to get it rezoned.
Is
But people like me is gonna not want to rezone.
So Rock Hill won't. We know that Rock Hill won't allow for tiny houses. And they won't allow for, there's also Charlotte areas too. Go ahead.
So can't call them tiny houses when you're talking to the county. You just can't, you have to just say that they're small homes, smaller square footage homes. There may be a square footage minimum, but still call them.
Okay. That's a good
Square footage on a tiny home. I don't know. What is?
I couldn't even tell you. Like I'd heard 500 minimum in some areas. I was looking at Gastonia, the minimum.
I mean, a 600 square foot home used to be what everybody built around here. Certainly.
Right. So, but that's technically tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny home.
Oh yeah, it's small. That was what they
Yeah,
built.
so it's called a small house.
Well, yeah, Jay, I saw some land that you had out there. You should work out a seller financing opportunity for some of your sellers. He's shaking his head. So Sandra, do you want to share who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Sandra Candler, and I get to work on the leadership team that serves Rebecca and the rest of our amazing agents at QW Connected. So Jeff and Candace and several people here. So I just get to help support and grow their business and their team and help them make a difference and help them attract talent.
Awesome. So we have mortgage in the room, we have builder in the room, we have wholesale, we have obviously real estate agents, investors, etc., property manager, and then another agent, Jay Gorley. So what kind of properties would work best for short-term rentals?
Ones that have experience.
Ones that have experience? And is that where you were going?
Urban and just connected to being able to walk around and get to
It's a location.
Safety. If you were to coach someone around an experience of investing and they were to try to convince you that they wanted to develop a farm or a parcel, what would your guidance be if they wanted to throw up a short-term rental or mid-term rental?
Check Airbnb.
Okay, that's a great tool. Can you explain more about that?
It basically just comps out. It's your short-term rental comp software.
Yeah.
Essentially. So it's going to comp this, like, you can actually speak
Yeah,
more on
it gives you
Airbnb.
data on the average daily rate charge for the area, the occupancy that most other short-term rentals in the area are doing. Just good data to have.
Do you pay for your version?
No, I don't. There's a paid version.
Yeah, I find I can get all the information I need from the free version.
Right.
So, is there any other one like that you've come across?
Yeah, there's one called Data Rabu.
That is Rabu.
That's also free.
Okay.
But yeah, those short-term rentals.
Okay. Cool. What else? Airbnb is a great suggestion.
What's in its vicinity, amenities.
Uh-huh.
I mean, near, like, Fairwinds is right here, stadiums, just like stuff to do, Whitewater Center, hiking trails, ski slope. It's, where people want to go to lodge for events, even, near PNC up in North Charlotte. It's, I know people down, or people that are doing short-term rentals, they will literally spike their prices during an event. because they know they're gonna get premium because people want to stay right there or walk to the event, stay wherever they're going. So they'll get the premium there, especially if there's not many hotels like close as well.
People will literally just move out for the week of
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Speedway and like,
It's the Augusta rule.
yes, Augusta rule. Do you want to share a little bit about that? For those who may, does
You got
everyone-
it, you got that
Okay.
one.
So Augusta rule is literally a tax advantage, a tax strategy. Consult your CPA before doing it. But up to 14 days, you can rent your own property out and receive a tax write-off for that income you're receiving. So I love a hack, for example, are you a W-2 or are you a 1099? Okay, so this may not work for you, but for those of us who are 1099s, we can have a meeting or a party or an experience, a dinner,
Planning retreat for next year.
anything. And we call the Valentine Hotel and we say, hey, how much would it be to book a room, like a event space? Or you call BLTC and you find out how much that would be. And you would just literally invoice yourself that, and that is the amount that you can write off. So it's a huge hack. I love doing it. We purposely have 10 events in my personal residence. That is 100% a write-off, and I love it. But again, you can do that. You can do that also, consult with your CPA to figure out what that means if you're a W-2. But the reason why it's called Augusta rule is because in Augusta, Georgia, when they have the Masters, people quite literally just rent out their properties for that whole week. And they make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't have to report that on their taxable income. So when the DNC comes to town in 2012 or whatever year that was, people in high rises were literally just going on vacation because the big corporations were renting out their houses or their apartments. And that was all non-taxable income. So many jurisdictions are legislating short-term rentals. As we know, Rock Hill did it. And it's really a challenge right now. And then Charlotte's doing it with ADUs and some other, there's some loopholes, but I highly, highly advise if you're going to do house hacking, land hacking, building, whatever, make sure that the zoning jurisdiction allows for whatever you're about to do. We have a lot of clients who, they have this awesome parcel in Dilworth, for example, and the envelope does not allow for them to build they can build a garage, but they can't build anything on top of it, which would have been so smart, right? But there's particular place or parcels that are in this specific jurisdiction that don't allow that. And if you're going to explore Plaza Midwood, for example, you might be able to put an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, but you can't build a tiny house, or you can't build a larger house than a specific amount of square footage.
It's 50% here, I believe.
Yeah, whatever that.
And 50%, it has to be 50% or less than primary residence.
That would make sense. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. So people love to travel. And right now, people are absolutely traveling because we weren't able to travel for 2.5 years, and places are opening back up, and most vacation areas have, convention centers, or they have attractions, etc. And so I like to look. I have a little app on my phone, and I always like to look to see what things are renting for, what things are available, who is selling an already performing short-term rental. And I love to scoop up already performing short-term rentals. Like that is a slam dunk for me if the numbers work, if it's going to cash flow or the cap rate makes sense.
Are you able to transfer that account? How does that work? Because I've come
Yeah.
across quite a few of those.
So personally, when I've sold my properties, I literally have to transfer, like I have an email address set to that account, and then I transfer all of that to them. And sometimes I still get some of the money, and I have a great relationship with people, and I send them the money. But it is, you're not able to actually, like if Rebecca Cullen was trying to sell Amy my Holden Beach property, I would have to literally give you all my logins, all my things. And
Right.
it's so annoying.
Yeah.
We have been asked to acquire a Plaza Midwood bungalow. And literally in the offer, we had to write in that she's going to provide all of the logins, all of the history, because otherwise you lose the bookings.
Right.
And the reviews and
The
everything.
reviews and the algorithm.
Yes.
So would it be advantageous to set, as you're setting up your STRs, to do one email specific for each?
Absolutely. That was my fail forward moment. And when we do have clients who want us to set up Airbnbs and concierge services for them, we have to literally set up emails for them. Mhm. Yeah. I also failed forward. With, if I do airplane mode, will that stop?
Yeah, you
Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm in the middle of a really hectic deal right now. And he thought it was the right time to talk to me about it. Where was I going? Oh, no, I forgot what I was saying.
You were saying that your concierge service for clients when you set them up on investment properties is to set up their email and set up everything.
Yes. So, yes, we do that.
Another fail forward.
Oh, fail forward. So, thank you. So we helped so an agent sent us a property management client, and their intention with the purchase was to short-term rent this in Rock Hill. It was literally 2 days before the new law went into effect.
Oh, no, that's not fail.
Yeah, so the new short-term rental restriction, moratorium or whatever. So we weren't grandfathered in, even though we showed them the paperwork, they just didn't file. Anyways, I did not help them on the purchase side. Let me just say that again. So when we went to turn it over, we had set up the whole Airbnb. We had 15 weeks booked. It was attached to my Airbnb. So like what I had just said about how if you're a host, you get priority on bookings. And so I've been a host for years. And so we had no problem booking it the first week with my logins and stuff. And so when short-term rental was kicked out, I had to cancel all 15 bookings, and they took money. So instead of refunding everybody, they took money from all of my other houses and pulled it because I was the reason why it was canceling, not because of the people. So it dinged me on all of my other properties. And that's why I will always set up a personal account on each thing. I was very mad about that. It wasn't like a huge amount of money. Otherwise I would have absolutely.
So then you had the same success by doing just each separate as you were doing, say you had 5 properties under one.
Now it takes a while to book them, but we just prep. We let the clients know up front, and we get photos back faster, and it just takes a longer time.
Yeah.
We also set them up on, so we have VRBO, Airbnb, and there's like local sites that book, but I feel like I keep looking at it. You're not part of the VRBO stuff, but we have a lot of success booking it through like Facebook groups. And so sometimes we don't charge booking fees, but they still go through that.
Like what kind of Facebook groups?
Like the local vacation groups for that specific area, or like if we're talking about Charlotte, there's like 3 million women in this one group. So we post there. That's like most of our bookings.
Wow.
And then we actually own like Valentine Neighbors, Charlotte Looks Good on You, and a couple of other Facebook groups that we post there.
You just post like pictures of the description.
Yeah.
Is it available these days, or like when you're trying to fill at that point?
Yes. Yeah. We say cancellations, or
Yeah.
even if it wasn't ever booked,
Yeah.
and then we just put the pricing on it, and they'll book it,
Cool.
or they'll book through us. But yeah. So reviews are important. I also love setting up websites for each property. That way, if for some reason I ever don't want to do Airbnb or VRBO sites, I like to control everything. So we set up websites, and then they can go to our reviews on like Facebook or Google Business or whatever it's called. But 4.7 stars is the lowest acceptable rating on all of the sites, all of the platforms. So we actually have in all of our properties recommendations on what is considered a 5-star service. So like, if there's a light bulb out, please still give us 5 stars. Like we'll replace that with a bulb. So we just have little helpful hints on how we can be better hosts for them, and for them to call us. Like we've had where there was a missing towel, and I'm like, my maintenance crew can just pop right over, grab a towel. We just need to know. So if there's anything from the start of their experience that's not 5-star worthy, then here's a phone number that they can call immediately. Okay, so how do you get started? What would be the first step if you weren't building from ground zero? Finding a property. So what would you ideally look for when you want to find something that's going to cash flow?
The location. Look at like VRBO or I'm blanking on the
Airbnb. Okay.
See what location perform well.
And so-
Size of it, bedrooms, baths.
If you were going on, so when you're wholesaling, for example, are you using MLS data? Sorry. Are you using MLS data, or are you going on tax records, or like how are you finding deals?
Yeah, prop streams.
Yeah.
Use MLS data. Then also just like marketing, direct marketing.
Okay.
So driving for dollars, if you're familiar with that.
What's driving for dollars, everybody?
So just driving around neighborhoods and find distressed properties, and then marking it down and skip tracing them and calling up the seller and see if they're interested in selling.
I literally did that today. So I was in the Stonebridge neighborhood getting one of our flips ready, and I was like, "Ooh, that house has literally not, like nothing has changed every single time I've passed it." And I just like kind of slowed down. I'm like, "It is vacant," and so I immediately figured out who it was, and I asked my teammate to pull the data. So I'll be calling them tomorrow. But yeah, no, I love that. So if you were to start an Airbnb Candace, where would you start one?
Well, it sounds like obviously not Rock Hill.
Yeah, not Rockville. Not right now. Even though there's so much to do.
Well, I mean, if he's mentioning a good location, I'm thinking about, my 2 friends that have one at the beach. So I would try to see if I could get to a location that either has some type of really great amenity that's close by. If I'm here locally, then I would just try to see which town would be, I guess, the most favorable for me to be able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then pick a location that's either trendy or walkable, has breweries nearby, or some great bars, shops, or something
Mm-hmm.
that's nearby, whether it's walkable or a short drive, or if you're a golf cart kind of area,
Mm-hmm.
you pick a golf cart.
Mhm.
So,
If you were like, for example, Hilton Head or Myrtle Beach, or any of those resorty type, Baxter Village, whatever, would there be a specific, like, would you include that golf cart, or would you offer them opportunities of how to rent? Like, what would that experience look like for you?
so I've rented some Airbnbs and I've never had a golf cart offered to me. And my friend rents her beach rental in Georgia, and she has like boat and RV and all this. She does rent her RV because she has an RV pad
Mm-hmm.
at her place. But she doesn't rent her boat out. So I would say I'm thinking no to the golf cart. I mean, I don't know what it would be in terms of like insurance, I guess, for that. 'Cause, like, just in case if they wreck it or if it's
Yeah.
stolen or
Yeah,
what.
I wouldn't because of liability, but
Right.
yeah, there's definitely some like really uber luxury packages. Like even there's like a place up in Boone or Blowing Rock that they include that kind of stuff, but it's like $10,000 to book, right? So I would want a chef to be included at that price point.
Right, yeah. So no to renting the golf cart,
Mhm.
in that regards, but maybe there might be, because, like when you're near the beach, they have those golf cart rental type places.
Yeah.
So then we can give them information on, hey, this is where you can go and rent a golf cart for your stay.
Yep.
And then they can go over there and get the golf cart. Like when we went to the beach in Florida, it was like, oh, if you want to go to Crab Island, you can rent you a boat, and
Yep.
this is where we recommend you go. And
Love
so
that.
we went there and got the boat for the day. So
That's
something
awesome.
like that.
I love that. I love curated experiences. So I love Airbnb just because it's plug and play. But I don't love the control that they have. And like, for example, if somebody tries to check in and then all of a sudden, like, they didn't do the right codes or whatever, like, now it's up to you to have to troubleshoot with them at 1 a.m. or whatever. So property manager for me, if I don't live close by, makes the most sense. I'd rather, however they want to book it, that's up to them. I'm hiring the property manager to figure out how to keep it booked and keep me making money. But I don't want to have to handle that because I like to sleep.
Do those property management companies listed on the typical platform?
Yes. So Vacasa is a great example of that. They charge a lot more, but everything's included. So like where I have the Holden Beach house, I'm technically the property manager, and I have a maintenance team. I have people that can go pop over immediately, but I have everything. Like I'm saving 30% because I'm managing the booking, but all of it's directed to my staff, if that makes sense. But Vacasa is typically 23 to 30%.
You on your real estate team or insurance team? So does she handle all that?
Jen does, yeah. Yeah, Jen handled all of my tenants today really well. We purchased a new pool cover, all the things. Yeah. Yes. So here's a pro tip. Stick to tourist destinations where the local economy is dependent on travel and tourism to reduce issues with regulation and zoning codes that can affect your ability to operate. So, number one, make sure you get a great area. So if you're planning on buying land, I was talking to somebody the other day. she has family land in Virginia. It's like, I couldn't even tell you where in Virginia it was. But I'm like, that would be a terrible place to short-term rental because the closest big town was Pigeon Forge, but it was a solid hour away. And I'm like, nobody's going to book a short-term rental and then have to drive an hour to Pigeon Forge. And then this podunk town, like literally looked like it had one stoplight. And maybe somebody likes to have that much of a rural space, but like, it's probably not going to get booked. Maybe if they created a retreat or a wellness spa, maybe. But I told her, I was like, you should just sell it. I don't think you should turn that into a rental. I don't think you should short-term rent it. Sell it. And then also make sure there's cleaning services close by, because if your maintenance staff has to travel 30 or more minutes, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate life, just having to deal with the back and forth and people staying and complaining, right? So cleaning services, attractions, access to airport. Yep.
I just wanted to say one thing. So my friend that has the beach rental, she said that she gets a higher booking when she puts a higher cleaning fee than when she has a lower cleaning fee. And she was like, it's the weirdest thing. She was like, it's like people are like, oh, I'm going to pay this higher number for some reason. And maybe they're thinking, well, I'm going to trash the place or whatever they're thinking. But she said she always gets the higher cleaning, like when she puts it out there for a higher cleaning fee, she gets that book quicker than when it's the lower. So now she's just been like, pushing out there.
So it's funny you say that, because I had been considering taking away my cleaning fee and just packing it into my, the nightly cost. And I was not getting any bookings when I did that. And so when I added the cleaning fee back, I charged $475 a week for the cleaning fee. That's literally what I get charged every time there's a turnover. So I just charge them and it stays book solid. Like I probably could charge $1,300 and not change my rent or my rate, and it would still get booked. I think it's a perception thing also. Like if you're not charging a cleaning fee, then they think, or the people vacationing think the house isn't clean. Maybe. We also have rules too around, like, even though we have a cleaning fee and we have people that come and do everything, we require them to take the trash to the road and, take the bed linen off the beds, put it in the room, but like they have to do some sort of participation to make it easier for the turnover. And we don't usually have any problems with that. Okay, so take a look. Another tip, one of my favorite things is to look at competition. So if I'm looking to see if something makes sense for short-term rental, I'm going on one of the booking sites and I'm looking to see what the competition is and how booked they stay. If they don't stay booked, then there's a problem. And usually I'll go on Airbnb or I'll like start doing additional research. But I look at the competition and I also look at the nightly hotel rates. When we have midterm property management clients, I market value them at what a month hotel stay would be. So that's how I figure out if it's furnished specifically. So I'll go on to like, not the fanciest hotels, but like the mid-range hotels, how much that nightly fee is. And then we'll figure out what the 30-day cost would be. And that's how we're marketing those rental prices. Also take a look at, who's your ideal customer? So we had a great person, Lori Shaw, like months and months ago. She actually came in, I think you were there, Candace, actually. She taught about interior designing, maybe you weren't, but interior designing short-term rentals. And she talked about how every single one of her clients has a theme to their properties. And so if you have a house, multiple houses in Charlotte, you literally should have a theme. Actually, we also had, what's her name? Ashley Harkretter, with Pretty Stays. She also said that when she taught.
Yeah.
Awesome themes. Every single one of our houses has a theme, and it's named like that theme. And so she stays booked solid because of that. And she's now in the business of like, she'll take people's money, she'll pool the money, and she'll go buy more short-term rentals. And so she's definitely figured out that whole game. Between her and Lori, like, they know exactly what they're doing when it comes to that.
I have a buddy in Denver. He actually has a service, a done for you service, where he will, or it's like he does arbitrage. So-
Okay, cool.
So they'll get it rented out, won't even have to buy it, rent it, and then they will theme it. They'll find it for you. They'll fly out, they'll furnish it for you, they'll design it. And his most successful one in Denver is a 90s theme. As
That's cool.
art. So he's got the N64 in there, this like super cool like
That's
vinyl
neat.
graphic and everything.
We get a lot of people that ask for our long-term rentals. They want to arbitrage it. And we just, a lot of our long-term rentals will get filled. So we're like, we don't, but like, if they don't get filled, then we'll consider a place like that, where as long as they keep it booked and we're getting the monthly rent, we don't care who, as long as they
We got my
take
email.
care of it. Awesome. And then also make sure that your property matches the demographic, right? So like University of South Carolina, do not put a Clemson house together. I'm like, wait, are you, no, what is that?
That's in the Charlotte campus.
Okay, so Charlotte Catholic. So if you probably don't want to have Charlotte Christian stuff in the house, right? I can give you way more examples, but nope, airplane mode did not work. So know your demographic. Don't buy a condo in an area where cabins are popular, for example. Or like we were considering a condo in, forget what beach it was. It was like Oak Island or something. And there were 75% rentals in this one community. I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to have to compete with everybody. And so just be aware of what your demographic is, and then check the property values at the rental rates. Check the property values versus the rental rates, because make sure that you're buying something that it will appreciate. And if the competition has pools, you better be buying something with a pool. I know, so anytime we buy a vacation rental, we always get a pool. And if there's not a pool, we need to be able to build one, because in certain areas, like I want to have families, or I want to have people. I know that my kids will only sit on the sand for a solid hour before they want to go to the pool. And if we don't have a pool, then we're probably not going to stay there again. So make sure your property matches what your demographic is. Management. So we already talked about management. You can hire a property manager, you can do it yourself, whatever you want. I have found, like we hired Jen, I forget how many properties we had by the time that we had you come on board.
About 20.
That might be right. Yeah. And now we're at a point now where we can now attract more, because I'm not sitting on the phone with one of our tenants for an hour trying to figure out if the pool guy came or not. And so just think about it. Like if you have 1 or 2 properties, awesome. Manage that yourself. Have fun. It might be fun for a little bit, but like it started to get overwhelming for me. And so we just went ahead, we brought somebody on. I've had property managers, like professional property managers, do some of our stuff. I just think we're better than they are. I'm going to give you an example of a good, well-producing property. So what you need to know is occupancy rate. What percent of the month can you expect it to be rented? This is where AirDNA will give you that estimate in most areas. Like I think you need to search via zip code or like city when you're doing AirDNA, but what percent of the month can you expect it to be rented? You can also figure it out if you go onto one of the booking sites and like find multiple properties, but this is easier to go on AirDNA. And then also the nightly rate, we already talked about. What's the average rate in the area? So Lake Wylie, you'll see Belmont, you'll see Clover, you'll see Lake Wylie. I have found that Belmont has a higher average rate. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of where it is on the lake. You have to drive a lot further away to go to Clover. So Belmont has a higher average nightly rate, but I find that the Lake Wylie properties are more luxurious. And when I say Lake Wylie, I'm literally talking about 29710 zip code versus the Belmont zip code. So just take a,
so cute, you know, with all these restaurants and bars. And
Absolutely.
It's such a fun place to walk around.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, deep in Clover, like, it's beautiful out that way, but you're going to probably have to stay there. You're not going to go to the grocery store a couple of times. You're not going to go to the restaurants. I don't think there are any.
A few.
There you go. A few. Yeah, sorry.
Very few.
Very few. You can go to Copper or
That's not Clover. I mean, it's Clover, but
that's like Wiley.
it's almost 15 miles from my house.
Yes. Okay. Or like Whitewater Center, great another example. So right around the Whitewater Center is all these great places, but then you're going to have a higher average nightly rent in Mount Hollow. So just take a look, and that's because Main Street downtown Mount Holly has totally transitioned. That would not have been the case maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, so here are the numbers that I'm going to tell you. So if units are rented 75% of the time at an average of $200 a night, I'm going to do this math for you. So 75% times $200 equals $150, right? Times 365 days equals $54,750 gross revenue. Literally says twice, AirDNA is where you would find all this. So if you're doing $54,000 of gross revenue, this is where a lot of people totally mess up. They think that's their number, but you have to take out your loss or your expenses, and you have your cleaning fees. Of course, try to recoup those through your booking sites, but you have your cleaning fees, you have your maintenance fees, you have, if you have a pool, you have a pool company, et cetera, et cetera. Also, there's a big capital upfront. So like getting all your towels, getting all your furniture. I love buying furnished properties. Like that's kind of my jam, is buying stuff that already has stuff in it and then buying onesie twosie of new things every year. That's an expense that you can write off though. So if you are purchasing something or you're building something, make sure it's in your capital upfront. So like if you're doing hard money or private money, make sure there's a line item for furnishings in there or design of some sort, because that's where a lot of people miss and lose money, quite frankly. Hospitality. So people, if they're staying with you, they're going to compare you to a hotel. So think about it that way. If you're not providing them with a hotel-like experience, what are you providing them of value? Why would they rebook you again? And I would encourage you, if you get a 5-star review, ask, when's the next time that you're coming into town? I'd love to have you stay with us again. Let me see if those dates are available, and continue the dialogue with them, because I don't know that I've never stayed at the same Airbnb again, ever, even if I really loved it. But I'm sure if somebody asked me, I would book them again. Like, I go to Scottsdale every 3 months and stay in Airbnbs almost every time. I've loved them, but I've never rebooked again. And so if you start having that dialogue and you invite them back, we have people that stay with us every year at Holden because I ask them to rebook. Hey, your week is available next year. Let's go ahead and book you. I haven't bumped up the prices yet. Dynamic pricing. So there's on some of these website or booking sites, you can do dynamic pricing. And so what dynamic pricing is where literally on the day of the week, or if there's an event going on, it will automatically take those things into consideration and bump you up or down. Sometimes I love it because I don't know what's going on in certain parts of the city, and I don't want to have to pay attention to 5 different places. And so we set dynamic pricing on some of them. My beach house, I do not set it because I never want to get less than $350 a night. And sometimes, especially like right now, it could drop to $150. And then I would lose all of that income. It costs me more money to have the lights on if I'm, if people are using the house. So dynamic pricing is great because it'll go up and down with what's going on, but it'll also typically keep you booked. You go up on the priority list if you have dynamic pricing. Other pro tips, especially if you're like building properties, make sure that you invest in professional photos, blogging. So we were talking about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a best friend. Like, we use it all the time in our business now. And like a real estate agent yesterday was like, hey, here's the non-branded site. Share it with everybody you know. Well, so I love doing that, but I don't want to use her remarks. And so if I've never been in the property before, I literally take her remarks, put it into ChatGPT, and it comes out with this beautiful, well-written. I think she actually took what I wrote and added it to her listing. But use that for when you're doing your booking sites too. When you're doing your Instagram pages or your Facebook pages, like, that is your tool if you're not a great marketer.
What do you type in for that? Just like description of, because I used it on some other stuff.
Yep.
I'm not super techy. Age maybe, but I have used it before, but you got to type in kind of a specific.
Yeah.
So you say, like, write me a review for.
Yeah. Yep. So I typically I've learned it doesn't do what I want it to do sometimes. But if I'm doing a listing remark, for example, I say, please write me a listing remark for a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with a gourmet kitchen and a fenced backyard. And then it's like beautifully written. And sometimes it's inaccurate. And so
you gotta read them.
Absolutely. We have definitely caught a few listings where it was like, it said something about like an oasis or something. And I'm like, it's a townhome. Like, why would they have an oasis in the backyard? So as much detail as you can, it'll spit out more beauty or sophistication in it. We have a newly renovated house in Stonebridge Stonehaven in Charlotte. And it wasn't finished yet. I had no idea what it was going to look like. And so I started typing in neutral finishes and open concept, plush backyard, and like this whole description as if it knew what it was going to look like in the future. Came out, and that's what we used. And I mean, it's more beautiful than the description is, but I'll just edit that. When else would we use it? We were just talking about a couple things.
There were a few that have come up. HomeBot is really good. ChatGPT is also integrated with multiple advertising pages now, so you can create whole listings. There's a lot going on with AI.
Yeah. Well, and like if you're doing, because I've heard you're doing a couple of realtor events coming up, in an effort to not have the same verbiage every single time, just put whatever you just wrote into ChatGPT and it'll just kind of zhuzh it up a little bit. Or like who your ideal client is, take that and then put it into ChatGPT.
So for example, I just put in ChatGPT, write me a description for holding an event for grid investors regarding short-term rentals. It creates a whole plan that you send out, and it's amazing.
Right.
So it'll help you line up your event, everything, and then you can just copy, paste, send, and you're done.
So we have an amazing team of virtual assistants in our organization, and Ronnie is on here right now. She and Tim, who's our listing coordinator, I started to catch on, and maybe Rania, you weren't doing this, but I know Tim was. I started to catch on that anytime we had like a marketing thing that, and I was like, hey, can you work on this real quick? Literally, they would come back the same day, and I started to catch on they were using ChatGPT. But it took me months to figure out that they were doing that until I took a class, and I was like, oh, that is a word that I think we've used before. I use the free version.
You can do a paid version. I think it's only $20 a month. Yeah, and it's a few more features, but you can get everything you need. Free version.
Well, and you can go inside of the profile and even in the free version and tell it who you are. So tell it your personality, tell it everything about you, give it some examples of how you've spoken before in the profile. So then it already writes like you.
Oh yeah.
It's literally ChatGPT app. It's like a white little flowery type thing. And I'm on it way too much. Yeah. It's very distracting.
I use it to make my emails sound really nice.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. So this morning you had a really good one. Good job. Very good one. I don't know what started that conversation. I have no idea.
you were just talking about different ways to, well, you were on dynamic pricing and then blogging, and then you went down the path of how to do that well.
Okay.
On all things.
When you get your thought back, I have we stumbled across when we started the camping, another land is there. It's called Hip Camp, and you put your backyard. You put a lot of farmers use it, and you rent out space to campers, and it can be completely bare. We typically like to have water, and septic, and electricity, but oftentimes we wanted to have that unique experience of putting our children on a farm as opposed to going to a campground where it's, very.
We have property coming real soon if you want to build one. It's out in Blacksburg or Union. It's Union, South Carolina.
I might take my feeling in actually.
Yeah, you use it. That's a great recommendation. And then to that point, we have a couple of friends who have multiple RVs and they use Outdoorsy and some of the other booking sites. And they literally Airbnb their RVs.
That's how we were to the RV.
Yeah.
Go to these camps across the United States.
Yeah,
I think Jay told me this, that Cherokee County passed some kind of ordinance on camping.
Oh, yeah?
So you want to check into some of that stuff before you get too deep.
Okay.
Uh,
I think Jay sold it to our original buyer.
Well, I think it was all the people that were coming in to build 45.
Yeah.
And people, this was like the pastor or whatever, rent stuff out. And they passed something that, I guess a number or something, I can't remember exactly, but if you do, you will have to have facilities.
That makes sense.
Bathhouse and sewer.
Do you know the answer to that, Jay? Are you hearing Jeff?
You still awake?
Yeah, Jeff's got it about right. If you got a campground in Cherokee County now, you have to have a place for people to wash clothes. And I believe restroom facilities, place to take a shower. I believe that was about it. But they're not going to grandfather it in. So if you already got one, you're okay.
Ah, okay. Well, that's good to know. See, our resident land expert. Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other cool things like that? Any tips?
No question.
Yeah.
Do you use furnish finders at all?
Yes. Great. Yes. Yes. We recently have not had a great activity on there, but we've had some bookings.
We just did a 6-month booking through Furnish
wow.
Finders.
Yeah. Most of our midterms are through Furnish Finder. So literally we had a property that we could not fill. So we just threw it on everything. Paid $99, paid like all the money. Yes, Furnish Finders.
Yeah, I just use Airbnb and VRBO.
Yeah, I would say why not? What I find with it, so I loved Furnish Finders during COVID because it was plenty of traveling nurses and plenty of money that they had, right? They were getting stipends. We were getting flight attendants. We were getting lots of corporate folks. We're finding now that just regular people are going on there and they don't have great credit. They think because it's not that it's one of those like Airbnb type sites that we're not going to do credit checks and those kind of things, but we do, and we have found bad background checks come through. And with gosh, there was another one. Maybe I'll think of it.
So for your midterms, is it usually like corporate leases that you're doing? Rentals, or leasing out to a lot of travel nurses?
No, not anymore, because we're not seeing that they have stipends anymore. So
For like a lot of the people that are renting out your midterms, what is that client?
So our most recent one, they're relocating back from Arizona and they're in the process of building a house in Rock Hill. So they went ahead and did a short-term rental. So that way, or midterm rental. So the wife could be back with her family while she was waiting for the house to be done.
and then so our Pineville house was also through Furnish Finders. That was an insurance claim. And we are getting a lot of inquiries from actual insurance brokers through Furnish Finders.
Oh, through Furnish Finders.
Like because they're trying to find something and the family either has a pet or something that a hotel would not work for. So we're getting insurance brokers.
People coming and visit family around holiday time.
Yeah.
That one's a huge one.
Yeah.
We've had a couple inquiries recently where they want to come and stay for a month and a half while their sister's having a baby or, helping out that way and they can work from home. So they want an actual home to go to.
Yeah. We have three. We have 3 that are set up like that right now that are just like transient.
Yeah, so I have 3 people staying in mine right now. They all work for Duke Energy. They did a 40-day stay through Airbnb. But my thought process is if I switch over to a midterm rental, it's less cleaning fees, less communication back and forth. Because she's here, obviously.
Yep.
But I'm just trying to figure out how to sort of target more of those people that will be stay for longer than 30 days. Or
You just-
30 days.
Set up that setting. Like we have that setting
All in Airbnb. VRBO.
in Airbnb, yeah, Airbnb,
30
VRBO, and furnished renters.
Do like 30 days.
We actually have 45 minimum on those 3 properties.
No, always book.
Always booked. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
1,000.
We've had like where there's a little bit of a break in between the people and reach out to them. They may want to do a temporary lease extension and then just leave a weekend in between.
Yeah, we just had one where she's like, "Can I stay until the end of the month?" And she's like, "No, we have other people coming here."
So I extended them up until like give us 3 days in between to get a cleaning crew in there, an inspection, make sure everything's good to go, and set up for new people to come in.
And then also, I think it also helps, like, obviously we have control of real estate. So like, if we have a buyer that needs a 5 to 15 day rental, or like, unfortunately, there was a massive fire like a few months ago, and we just threw them into one of these properties because it was vacant, and why not, right? The insurance company paid like $800, and our clients were absolutely fine with that. But just stay in touch with real estate agents and you might have more bookings.
Is that your KWT that owns all these STRs, or is it separate entity, or is it you?
It's all of the above. So like we have access to 380 agents
Right.
and other brokerages.
Right.
So like if Amy sees that I post a property and she has a client, then
Right.
we're gonna fill it or help her fill it. I own a number of them personally, and then we have clients that we serve
Right.
that we have a couple of clients all around, like everywhere. We don't usually go up to like university area anymore, but like Highland Creek is a great area, not Highland Creek specifically because they don't allow short-term rentals, but like that area is great for the hospital and for the university and for people who just have to go on that 85 corridor. Like that is a great spot to have a midterm rental in that area. There's other Huntersville is a great example of that too. So we just kind of target, when we have investor clients, we target the specific areas and we help them buy in those areas. And then when we have the need, we fill them. We're like, hey, we know this person's about to have this property. It's a lot of moving pieces. That's why I had to bring Jen on, because it was too much for my brain capacity.
And don't underestimate the power of posting in Facebook groups. I think our most 2 recent property management clients, they're from mom groups. I mean, it's just going in there and posting.
Yeah, those women.
Yeah, I've heard about the mom groups.
They're fun. They're fun.
They wouldn't let you in. I was gonna say I can't in.
If you know a mom, have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mom groups, but then there's also like Charlotte Connection and Valentine Neighbors and like, you know, Charlotte Real Estate Agent. No, what is it?
Charlotte Real Estate Investment.
That's it. Yeah. There's junk in there, but there's some gold in there too.
All right.
Yeah. What other questions? So if you didn't sign in, please sign in. I forget what next week or next month learning is, but it's on the meetup group, and it's probably not going to be around short-term rentals. It's probably going to be something we haven't covered in a lot of months. And then next year's curriculum is going to be coming out once I decide. But we have had a whole bunch of people asking to come to our home transformations and to come see our like some of our flip projects. And so I'm trying to coordinate. It's hard, especially if they're not mine, to figure out logistically how to get everything set up for that. So I'm trying, I promise. But I've been asked like way more times in the last 2 weeks, so I'll work on that. And maybe we can come see some of your projects.
I got one in York, South Carolina, one in Yankton.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
The next one is understanding the fundamentals of new construction.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
Well, that might be.
Actually, if you want to be the speaker, that would be really great. We can put together a panel. Okay. And I do typically, of course, we host them here when I can't get a subject matter expert, but we go around Charlotte. We've done different places, but it's been here the last few times.
I know where it is now. So.
Yeah, welcome. Is there any programs right now that you are raving about?
Well, I mean, you know, I signed up for this construction already.
Oh, good.
You know, you've got like a good one-time close construction. Not so much build a house, right? But if you got a piece of land, you want to do that.
Is that a construction of perm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one-time close.
Okay.
Get everything up front. And then I would say, you know, the niche products. So, I do everything, right? The basic stuff, painting, ready, FHA, all of that stuff. We hold those in-house, we close those, it's our paper, and then we can broker out the non-QM stuff that you don't know that, but that's, self-employed people that if they're smart, they write everything off, don't qualify, the tax returns, so use cash flow and bank statements.
Yeah.
I was in that world for a few years before COVID. So I know that product pretty well as well.
Awesome.
But, there's nothing truly niche-y out there that, somebody says, oh, I've got a program, everybody else says some sort of hard money or anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard. At this point, it comes down to service and rate.
Right.
So that's one thing that differentiates.
We're seeing
Conventional's conventional,
We're seeing a lot of new construction builders right now, especially where they're like just trying to get the deal closed and they're doing 5.78% interest rate. And I'm like, who's paying for that? Like, where is that on the closing
So,
list?
I was actually looking at a guy this morning and was asking me about 2-1 buy down.
Uh-huh.
So it's probably what they're doing, right? The builder's just paying that because on the 2-1 buy down, the seller is paying for that buy down.
Right.
So, some of the closing costs used for the buy down. So to get that rate, right? So that makes sense because today's rate probably is 7.875.
Right.
Buy down 2, so it's gonna be 5.875. And then
That's a great
6.875.
spot.
So that's a different way of giving seller concessions.
Got it.
Yeah, probably just a different way to say the same thing.
Yeah. I'd almost rather them get a concession at closing and keep that rate.
But they can afford it.
If they can, yeah.
You have to afford it because you actually have to qualify at some point.
Yeah.
Got to qualify with that. But, if you're new, first time home buyer, and it can save you a good chunk of money up front.
Yeah.
The first few years, you can save. I think the example I saw today saved him like $14,000 in cash over the first few years. Well, I got a buddy that bought his first place, should not have bought a house like a year ago, and I was like, you don't have enough money. What are you doing? But you get in, you don't think these people have never bought a house. Oh, I need a shovel. Like crap like that.
Right,
That basic.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, that's
Oh, my HVAC is
$60
gonna
if
go
you
out.
want a decent one. Or you buy the crappy one that you're gonna have to buy 3 times when it breaks. You're still seeing,
Right.
like all those little things that new homeowners don't understand. That 14,000 you can save with buy down kind of goes towards that stuff.
Fair enough. Cool. Thank you, Sharon. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming.